Okay, cool. So this week we are building a social media content agent, and we're going to start with what is essentially a fairly basic version of this agent. It is going to search through sources that I provide it, and it's going to use those sources to write drafts of posts for various social media channels. And that's all going to happen in a chat thread inside AutoHive. Depending on how much time we've got once that is done, I'll talk about ways that we can then enhance that agent by giving it a brand voice agent as a tool, so that after it's drafted its social media posts, it can then use a brand voice agent as a tool to rewrite those posts in a brand voice that works nicely for your business. In this example, the agent is going to be writing content for AutoHive's social media. So let me share my screen and I will get started. Okay, so I'm inside a workspace now called Social Media Agent. And in here, there's a pre-built brand voice agent. If you need to create a workspace, you can do that. Let me do that again. You click on Workspaces and then go to Create Workspace. You can give it a name. This setting is Public Workspace. If you leave that ticked, then it means other people inside your plan can go to View Workspaces, and then they can click a Join button over here to join your workspace if you leave it as a public one. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I'm inside the workspace I want to work in. I'm going to now go to Browse Agents, and I'm going to get the Prompt Writer. So this agent, I hope, will become a really useful tool for you over time. And what the Prompt Writer does is writes system instructions for agents that you need to build. So I'm going to hit Get Agent, and now inside this workspace is the Prompt Writer agent. Something for you to note, if you go back now to Browse Agents and look for the Prompt Writer, you won't see it in the list because it's already in the workspace. So that's tripped me up before. I've looked for something and realized I've already got it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my voice to prompt the Prompt Writer, and I'm going to let it know what agent I want to build. And then it will help us to build the agent. It'll write the instructions for us. So here we go. Okay, I need you to help me write the system instructions for a content creation agent. This agent will check the same 3 news websites on a daily basis for relevant news articles. It will also have a Slack tool, which will allow it to check an internal channel called Winning for internal chatter around positive news or positive things happening in the business. When you write that into the instructions, please include a placeholder for the channel ID of that Slack channel, and I'll provide the channel ID. It will use what it finds from Slack and the news websites to generate drafts of posts for any of the following platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and X. And based on how the agent is prompted by the user, that will dictate which platforms it will create drafts for. And it will also have an image generation tool to allow it to create images if necessary for the user, which could accompany the posts that it is generating. Okay, so that tool, that speech to text tool is just going to transcribe what I've just spoken. I'm going to add underneath the 3 sources, the 3 news sources. Now, this is obviously an AutoHive example, so these 3 news sources are relevant to AutoHive. You can choose what sources you provide. Here are the 3 sources. Okay. So what should happen now is Prompt Writer might do a bit more research. It has a web search tool, researching the structure of these different websites. And it will start to write system instructions based on what I've told it for the agent that we want to build. When it starts to write instructions, you will start to see the power of using a prompt engineering agent, a prompt writing agent like this, to write your instructions for you. It's going to write a lot in the system prompt, and it's going to be a lot more than you would write if you were going to build this agent yourself. So it's a super valuable, powerful tool, and it also does a bit of adaptive reasoning. So based on what you tell it about the agent you want to build, it sort of decides whether you need to go deep on the building process. And if you do, it will ask loads of clarifying questions and extract a lot of information from you before it writes the instructions. Alternatively, if it's a straightforward and relatively low stakes agent, which this one is effectively, it will simply write the instructions after choosing how it needs to source extra information. So in this case, it went and researched the websites that I gave it. Now it's writing the instructions for us. So look how big these instructions are. A lot more detail in here than we would write ourselves if we were going to build this agent ourselves. So when it's finished writing them out, I'm going to hit copy, and then we're going to build this new agent. Cool. Okay. So it looks as though it's finished writing now. I'm going to scroll back up to the top of the block that it's provided them in and hit copy on that. Now I'm going to go create agent over here, and we'll call this AutoHive Socials Brainstormer. Helps us find ideas and drafts posts for all our platforms. So model selection, for an agent like this, it's not multi-step, it's not super complex. I am not going to bother using a reasoning model like a Gemini 2.5 Pro, for example. I think I'll just go with GPT 4.1. Could even use 4.1 mini probably for this. Temperature, I'm going to knock down slightly. Let's take it to 0.5. Temperature, without going too far into it, is a measure of the creativity that you want the agent to have. So for some use cases, it makes sense to have it at 0. For others, it makes sense to give it quite a lot. When you're talking to ChatGPT or Claude on the front end, effectively in the user interface, the accepted wisdom is that they're running at about 0.7. So I've turned this down slightly from where those tools are normally at. The last thing that I need to do here is grab this channel ID. So let me do that. I'm just going to pull up Slack. And this is the channel that I want it to have access to. It's called Winning. Oops, there we go. And in the top right-hand corner, I'm clicking on the 3 dots, and then I'm going open channel details, find the About tab, and down the bottom here is the channel ID. So I'm going to hit copy on that. And we'll get rid of that now. And let me do this, paste that in there. Check Slack channel ID. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Let's say that every time the agent runs, it saves us half an hour. So the tools that it needs are the Slack tool for checking that channel. We're going to have to authenticate that as well. So I'll just go through that. I'm going to authorize for everyone in this workspace. There will be use cases where you might want to authorize for everyone in the plan. But for now, I'm just going to authorize for the workspace. And I'm going to change it to Building Buzz, which is the Slack space that I'm using. And I'm going to tell it or add it to the channel called Winning. Okay, cool. So now the Slack channel is authenticated. The agent needs full web search access because I've given it those 3 websites that it should be looking at. It doesn't need the content area, but if you wanted to make the agent more powerful, for example, you could add things like brand guidelines in there or examples of previous posts. You could play around with using that as a content area file or providing it to prompt writer when you're writing the instructions and have prompt writer write some of that stuff into the instructions for the agent. At this stage, something to think about is the concept of narrow AI, which I think about as like job descriptions for the agents that you're building. So at the moment, this agent that we're building has kind of 3 jobs. It's going to check the 3 news websites. It's going to check the Slack channel, and then it's going to draft posts. So those are the 3 jobs that it's going to do. To add more jobs on top of that means the agent becomes a bit more, the lift is a little bit sort of heavier for the agent. You might want to use a reasoning model at that stage. Alternatively, you split it out into more than one agent, right? So like I mentioned, we will give this agent a brand voice agent as a tool before we've finished building. And by doing that, you take away the requirement from the social media agent to be really good at writing just like your brand. All it has to do is source the information and draft the posts, and then it can use its tool, which is only specialized in writing like your brand, to redraft that content. And that agent doesn't have to do anything to retrieve information. It's going to receive the draft posts. So then you've got 2 nice narrow agents with nice clear job descriptions, and there's no overlap or confusion in terms of who or which agent should be doing what. So I think we are good to go now. Let's hit create on this. And yeah, I only want to share it to that workspace at this stage. Okay, so let's take it for a little test run and see what it does. Please draft me some posts for this week for LinkedIn and Facebook only based on the ideas you find. Cool. So it's got the website sources. It's got the tool for scraping those sites. So it should start by using those web search and scrape tools to go looking. Yeah, here we go. It's gone looking at each of those news websites. It's also grabbed the channel ID for Slack. It's retrieved recent positive news and achievements from the winning Slack channel, which is cool. That's just an example Slack channel that I created and added some wins in. There's an article here about JD, our CEO, and then our Notion, LinkedIn, Gmail, Slack, and Xero integrations have all been verified. The crew is buzzing. So some of that content hopefully will be written into the posts that it has drafted. Yeah, here we go. Look, we're buzzing with excitement. Notion, LinkedIn, Gmail tools have all been verified. Cool. So at its most basic, that is this agent, and it's done and ready to use. But what I want to do next is give it the brand voice agent as a tool. So instead of it writing in a relatively sterile way, it's going to write in a very specific way by using the brand voice agent tool over here. So what I'm going to do first of all is go back to agent settings and grab the instructions for the agent. I've just copied those. Now I'm going to go to prompt writer, the agent that wrote the system prompt for us earlier on. And I'm going to let this agent know that we want to make some changes and give it access to a brand voice agent tool. So here we go. Okay, this agent is working well. What I want to do now is provide it the brand voice agent as a tool that it can use. So when it has drafted the social media posts, it should use the brand voice agent tool to redraft those in our unique brand voice. And when it responds to me with the final drafted posts, it should respond with exactly what the brand voice agent wrote, not what it wrote. So I've given it a little bit of extra guidance there. When I've used brand voice agents as tools in the past, sometimes the agent that is using that tool will receive a response from the brand voice agent, but sometimes doesn't relay it to the user. If it does that, I can show you what it looks like, but I hope it doesn't because I've just given it some steering. Okay, what I should have done there, which I didn't, was paste those instructions in. The instructions are effectively exactly the same as this. The only thing I need to put back is that channel ID because it's going to probably write it out again with a placeholder because I didn't provide those instructions. Yeah, there it is, channel ID placeholder. So let me just grab that again from the winning channel over here. I'm just going to throw that up here in a new tab. So it's writing out the instructions again. I would expect these to be exactly the same as the others, aside from, or as version 1, aside from what we've asked it to do now with its brand voice agent tool. So I'm going to copy that. Now I'm going back to the AutoHive Socials Brainstormer. I'm going to paste in this new version of the instructions. I'm going to grab that channel ID again. And when I can find the placeholder, there it is. I'll just check that it's not anywhere else in these instructions. Sometimes it's included more than once. There it is. Okay, I think we're looking good now. So now I need to come into tools. So what I did there was just add integrations and agents. And along the top here, there's this agents button. And this will show you all the agents inside the same workspace that you're working in. And you can provide any of them as a tool to an agent that you're building. So I'm going to give it this brand voice agent. And if you spotted the description there that I have given to that brand voice agent, you should see that it's going to talk like Gandalf the Grey. And the reason for that is just so that it's really obvious that it's using the tool correctly. So let's go back here to the same agent. It should now have the brand voice agent tool. So I'm just going to say to it, okay, could you please use your brand voice agent tool to redraft what you have written in our specific brand voice, please? So what we should see now is another one of those descriptive tool calls in the chat thread here. And we should get a response with these 3 posts all written and sounding like they were written by Gandalf the Grey. And if that's what we get, then we know that it's using its brand voice agent correctly. Oh, how many did it give us? LinkedIn 1, 2, 3, Facebook 1, 2, 3. Cool. It's looking good. So those are the 6. Here we go. Looks like it's working. Hashtags wizardly wisdom, the age of wonders. Most excellent tidings from the digital realms. Cool. So what we've built there is the social media brainstorming agent, and we've given it a brand voice agent as a tool. If you were going to take this to the next step to keep on enhancing it, then you can. We actually didn't test the image generation tool there, but it has an image generation tool. Let me just quickly show you where that is. Actually, it's got instructions of an image generation tool, but I didn't add it. So if you come into Buy AutoHive, in here, there's an image generator. So I'll turn off member search and I'll give it image generator. So now it's got the ability to generate images. It's already in its instructions. So if I'd asked it to do that without giving it the tool, it would have said, I can't do that. Another tool that you could give it if you wanted is the PDF creator tool. So then after it's drafted its content and it's used the brand voice agent to redraft it in your own unique brand voice, then you could say, okay, create a PDF of this, please. And if you give it the Drive tool, for example, or the SharePoint tool, you can then make it save it into your document storage area. Obviously, hopefully before long, and you can already do this with LinkedIn, you could have it post directly to LinkedIn using the LinkedIn tool. The integration to Meta is underway, as far as I understand. So those are a couple of ways that you could enhance it. You could also you could give it another agent as a tool that does the image generation, take that away from this agent. And again, we're back to that narrow AI thing. You could take the image generation responsibility away from this agent and build an image generation agent separately. And within the instructions of that image generation agent, you could give it your brand guidelines and say, these are the hex values for the colors that we use. These are the fonts that it should try to emulate when it's adding text to images. This is the style that we're going for. Always use this style when you're generating images. So then, again, that responsibility is removed from the social media brainstormer, and each agent should then do a better job of something very specific. So those are a couple of ways that you could build your social media agent and enhance it with a few more tools. So with that, I will stop sharing my screen and we will move into Q&A.